Om Ajnana Timandasya Jansana Shlakaya Sakshurmetam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Chitayamanopistam Staptam Yena Bhutale Svamrapakadam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shio Shiyuda Padakamalam Shirom Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Jagajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savrutam Parjana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Saganalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhudina Bandhu Jatpate Gopesha Gopka Kantarad Kantanamastate Tapta Kansna Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sutadevi Pranama Priyoshime Pancha Kalptravasha Kripasan Vivasha Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Desatarini Tila Prabhupada Ki. So text 10, Nectar of Instruction. So last lesson we have discussed text 9 that so next text 10 will discuss different kinds of people who are on different levels of advancement that we will hear the highest are those who have developed love of God, that in the previous verse we have heard about different places in the spiritual world, how one is higher than the other. But here is about the persons that from the fruity worker to one who has developed love of God. So we are reading the verse. Karmibhya parito hare priyataya vyaktim yayurchaninas tebyohana vimukta bhakti parama premaikanistas tabyasta pasupala pankachatisas tabyo pisharadika prastatavat yam dati asarasitam narasretka kriti. So we will read the translation of the verse. In the Shastra it is said that of all types of fruitive workers, one who is advanced in knowledge of the higher values of life is favored by the Supreme Lord Hari. Out of many such people who are advanced in knowledge, Jnanis, one who is practically liberated by virtue of his knowledge, may take to devotional service. He is superior to the others. However, one who has actually attained prema, pure love of God, is superior to him. The gopis are exalted above all the advanced devotees because they are always totally dependent upon Sri Krishna, the transcendental coward boy. Among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna. Her Kunda lake is as profoundly dear to the Lord as this most beloved of the gopis. Who then will not reside at Radhakund and in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, aprakrita render loving service to the divine couple Shri Radha Govinda who perform their Astakalya Lila, their eightfold daily pastimes. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of Radha Kund are the most fortunate people in this universe. Now, the descriptions, the commentaries here. At the present moment, almost everyone is engaged in some kind of fruitive activity. Those who are desirous of gaining material profits by working are called karmis, or fruitive workers. All living entities within the material world have come under the spell of Maya. This is described in the Vishnu Purana 6.761. Vishnu Sakti Para Prokta Kshatrahya Kya Tata Para Avidya Kama Samhyanya Tritiya Saktir Ishate. Sages have divided the energies of the Supreme Lord, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead into three categories, namely the spiritual energy, the marginal energy, and the material energy. The material energy is considered to be the third-class energy. Tritiya Sakti, those living beings within the jurisdiction of the material energy sometimes engage themselves like dogs and hogs in working very hard simply for sense gratification. However, in this life or after executing pious activity in the next life, some karmis become strongly attracted to performing various kinds of sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. Thus, on the strength of their pious merit, they are elevated to the heavenly planets. Actually, those who perform sacrifices strictly according to the Vedic injunctions are elevated to the moon and planets above the moon, as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 9.21. Ksine punye mahtya lokam vishanti. After exhausting the result of their so-called pious activities, they again return to the earth, which is called Martyaloka, the place of death. Although such persons may be elevated to the heavenly planets by their pious activities, and although they may enjoy life there for many thousands of years, they nonetheless must return to this planet when the results of their pious activities are exhausted. So this is the position of all karmis, including those who act piously and those who act impiously. On this planet, we find many businessmen, politicians, and others who are simply interested in material happiness. They attempt to earn money by all means, not considering whether such means are pious or impious. Such people are karmis, or gross materialists. Among the karmis are some vikarmis, people who act without the guidance of Vedic knowledge. Those who act on the basis of Vedic knowledge perform sacrifices for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu and to receive benedictions from him. In this way, they are elevated to the higher planetary systems. Such karmis are superior to the vikarmis, for they are faithful to the directions of the Vedas and are certainly dear to Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita 4.11, Krishna says, Ye yata mam prabhachante Tamstadeva bhajamyaham. In whatever way one surrenders unto me, I reward him accordingly. Krishna is so kind that he fulfills the desires of the karmis and jnanis, not to speak of the bhaktas. Although the karmis are sometimes elevated to higher planetary systems, as long as they remain attached to fruitive activities, they must accept new material bodies after death. If one acts piously, he can attain a new body among the demigods in the higher planetary systems, or he may attain some other position in which he can enjoy a higher standard of material happiness. On the other hand, those who are engaged in impious activities are degraded and take birth as animals, trees, and plants. Thus, those fruitive actors who do not care for the Vedic directions, karmas, are not appreciated by a learned saintly person, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Namam pamata kote vikarmaya dindaya pritaya aprinoti nasadamanye yatatmano yam asanapi klesada asadeham. Materialists will walk hard like dogs and hogs simply for sense gratification are actually mad. They simply perform all kinds of abominable activities simply for the sense gratification. For sense gratification, materialistic activities are not at all worthy of an intelligent man, for as a result of such activities, one gets a material body which is full of misery. The purpose of human life is to get out of the threefold miserable conditions which are concomitant with material existence. Unfortunately, fruitive workers are mad to earn money and acquire temporary material comforts by all means. Therefore, they risk being degraded to lower species of life. Materialists foolishly make plans to become happy in this world. They do not stop to consider that they will live only for a certain number of years, out of which they must spend a major portion acquiring money for sense gratification. That ultimately such activities end in death. Materialists do not consider that after giving up the body, they may become embodied as lower animals, plants, or trees. Thus, all their activities simply defeat the purpose of life. Not only are they born ignorant, but they act on a platform of ignorance, thinking that they are getting material benefits in the shape of skyscraper buildings, big cars, honorable positions, and so on. The materialists do not know that in the next life they will be degraded, and that all their activities simply serve as parabhav, their defeat. This is the verdict of Srimad Bhagavatam 555. Parabhavastava abodha chataha. One should therefore be eager to understand the signs of the soul Atma Tattva. Unless one comes to the platform of Atma Tattva, by which one understands that the soul and not the body is oneself, one remains on the platform of ignorance. Out of thousands and even millions of ignorant people who are wasting their time simply gratifying their senses, one may come to the platform of knowledge and understand the higher values of life. Such a person is called a jnani. The jnani knows that fruitive activities will bind him to material existence and cause him to transmigrate from one body to another. As indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam by the term sarira bandha, bound to bodily existence, as long as one maintains any conception of sense enjoyment, his mind will be absorbed in karma, fruitive activities. and this will oblige him to transmigrate from one body to another. Thus, a jnani is considered superior to karmi, because he at least refrains from the blind activities of sense enjoyment. This is the verdict of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, although jnani may be liberated from the ignorance of the karmis, unless he comes to the platform of devotional service, he is still considered to be in ignorance, avidya. Although one may be accepted as a jnani or advanced in knowledge, his knowledge is considered impure because he has no information of devotional service, and thus neglects the direct worship of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When a jnani takes to devotional service, he rapidly becomes superior to an ordinary jnani. Such an advanced person is described as Jnana Vimukta Bhakti Parama. How a jnani takes to devotional service is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, wherein Krishna says, Paunam Jnanam Mante Jnanamama Papachote Vasev Savamati Samatma Sudurdabi. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Actually, a person is wise when he surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna. But such a Mahatma, a great soul, is very rare. After taking to devotional service under the regulative principle, a person may come to the platform of love of God. Following in the footsteps of great devotees like Narad and Sanak and Sanatan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead then recognizes him to be superior. The devotees who have developed love of Godhead are in an exalted position. Of all these devotees, the gopis are recognized as superior because they do not know anything else than satisfying Krishna. Nor do the gopis expect any return from Krishna. Indeed, sometimes Krishna puts them into extreme suffering by separating himself from them. Nonetheless, they cannot forget Krishna. When Krishna left Vrindavan for Mathura, the gopis became most dejected and spent the rest of their lives simply crying in separation from Krishna. This means that in one sense, they were never actually separated from Krishna. There is no difference between thinking of Krishna and associating with him. Rather, Vipralamba Seva, thinking of Krishna in separation, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did, is far better than serving Krishna directly. Thus, of all the devotees who have developed unalloyed devotional service, unalloyed devotional love for Krishna, the gopis are most exalted. And out of all these exalted gopis, Srimati Radharani is the highest. No one can excel the devotional service of Srimati Radharani. Indeed, even Krishna cannot understand the attitude of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, he took her position and appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just to understand her transcendental feelings. In this way, Srila Rupa Goswami considers that Srimati Radharani is the most exalted devotee of Krishna, and that her Kund lake, Sri Radha Kund, is the most exalted place. This is verified by a verse from the Padma Purana as quoted in the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Uttarakanda 45, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yadarada Priya Vishnos Tasya Kundam Priyam Tata Sarva Gopishu Saivakya Vishnatyanta Vallabha. Just as Srimati Radharani is dear to the Supreme Lord Vishnu, so our bathing place, Radha Kund, is equally dear to Krishna. Among all the gopis, She alone stands supreme as the Lord's most beloved. Therefore, everyone interested in Krishna consciousness should ultimately take shelter of Radhakund and execute devotional service there throughout one's life. This is the conclusion of Rupa Goswami in the 10th verse of Upadeshamrita. So this verse describes so many people with different consciousness. That because some people are in material consciousness here, and some are in spiritual consciousness. Therefore, in the beginning, it is said the energies of the Supreme Lord, which are multiple, they are divided in three kinds: the spiritual energy, the material energy, and the marginal energy. And we are considered Tatastha Shakti, the marginal energy. And we can connect our consciousness with the spiritual energy, at least in the human form, with the Antaranga Shakti, spiritual energy. Or we can connect our consciousness with the material and energy, the Bhairanga Shakti, or external energy, material energy, which is the third class energy. So those whose consciousness is in this external energy, they want some sense gratification in so many forms. And you have different kinds of such people, Prabhupada explains. Karmis and vikarmis. There's a difference, because the karmis, they are following the scriptures. They enjoy according to the instructions of the scriptures. These instructions are mostly called in the Vedas karma kanda. And they perform Vedic sacrifice for elevation to heavenly planets. Then they recognize usually the Supreme Lord, but they want sense gratification. The vikarmas, they perform activities against the scriptures. And they may be degraded in their next life, and they will undergo suffering. But whether one wants sense gratification following the scriptures or not following the scriptures, one remains in the cycle of birth and death. Although the karmis have a good chance for elevation to heavenly planets, the vikarmas, they have the risk of going down for lower species. So Prabhupada says in the Prabhupada, it's all Martya Lokam. Martya Lokam, the Loka of death. And it's all Dukkhalayama Sasvatam, he says. So Prabhupada explains the difference between karmis and vikarmis. And he explains here these karmis, they follow the scripture, and therefore they are dear to Krishna. The vikarmis, they are going to the lower species of life. But then Prabhupada quotes this from the teachings of Lord Rishabhadev. Lord Rishabhadev was teaching his 100 sons the essence of spiritual life. And that begins with understanding that attachment to the material energy is very troublesome, that one should stop activities for sense gratification, which also the animals do that, because this is just a sign of ignorance. It's madness. Because why are we interested in sense gratification? Because we want sense gratification for the body, and we are not a body. So it's insanity. That so these teachings are very important. So we have this verse in Numa Pramata Kote Vikarma Yadindriya Pritya Aprinoti Nasadumanye Yata Atmanoyam Asana Pekleshta Asadeha. When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engaged in all kinds of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body, which, although temporary, is the cause of misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded a material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it is not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in activities of sense gratification, by which we perpetually get material bodies one after another. So King Rishabhadev said, this body you got because of your reactions of previous life, reactions of trying to engage in sense gratification. And he said we should not have accepted this body. How do you accept the body? It's by engaging activities for sense gratification. So that should be stopped. That we should not engage for sense gratification. We should engage in devotional service instead. Because by this sense gratification, you get one body after another, and it never stops these reactions. So this is explained in the purport of this verse, that can read it. Begging, borrowing, and stealing to live for sense gratification is condemned in this verse, because such consciousness lead to a dark, hellish condition. The four sinful activities are illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. These are the means by which one gets another material body that is full of miseries. In the Vedas, it is said as Sangha Yam Purusaha. The living entity is not really connected with this material world, but due to his tendency to enjoy the material senses, he is put into the material condition. One should perfect his life by associating with devotees. He should not become further implicated in the material body. Srila Prabhupada writes. We go back to our purport. So we looked at this verse, and that so we should stop this business of sense gratification, that materialists, they want to become happy by exploiting matter, but it leads only to frustration, and what they get is temporary, very temporary. So it's foolish that because it will lead every time to defeat. You work your whole life for so many things in this world, and then you die. You must give it up. Finished. That it leads to parabhava, defeat. And Lord Shabbadev speaks about this defeat to his sons. He says, Parabhava stava abodha jato yavanna jnanasata atma tattvam yavatya stavati tammanavai karmatmakam yena sarira bandha. As long as one does not inquire about spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subjected to miseries arising from ignorance. So King Ridhapadev says here, yes, higher than this karmas and vikarmas is the jnani. He inquires about spiritual values of life. That's also the first verse of the Vedanta Sutra, Atata Brahma Jijnasa. Now you have got the human form of life. Now you should inquire about Brahman. Who am I? I'm spirit, not matter. These are the jnanis. But King Rishabhadev said that this karma is bit sinful or pious. Sinful or pious. Karmis and vikarmas. Karma as must get its action. So if one is engaged in any kind of karma, his mind is called karmatmaka, colored with fruitive activities. So we can observe what are we thinking of. Usually when we let the mind go, not under control of the intelligence, it will seek sense gratification. Because that is the program of the body. It will go for sense gratification, and it thinks about that, how to enjoy, and images come into the mind. I'm going to enjoy in that way, and that way, and that way. And that is this karmatmaka, consciousness colored with fruitive activities. But for the karmas and vikarmas, it's worse, because also their intelligence is colored with this karmatmaka. They use intelligence to make plans to get that enjoyment. So many plans, colored with fruitive activity. And that, because consciousness is, pure consciousness is Krishna, consciousness is pure. But when it becomes colored by rajas and tamas, by this tendency for fruitive activities, it becomes impure. It becomes impure by engaging the mind in these activities. So we can read a part of the purport here. Generally, people think that one should act very piously in order to be relieved from misery, but this is not a fact. Even though one engages in pious activities and speculation, is nonetheless defeated. Its only aim should be emancipation from the clutches of Maya, get out of it, and all material activities. Speculative knowledge and pious activities do not solve the problems of life. One should be inquisitive, trying to understand his spiritual position. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, what happens when one acts according to one's spiritual position as a servant of Krishna? Yadaidam so samidor nirvasmasa kautarjuna sunachnir sarvakarmani pasmasa kaute tata. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. So by knowledge about our constitutional position, we are part and parcel of Krishna. If we act as a part and parcel, means acting as a servant of Krishna, then by that action of trying to please Krishna out of love, all these reactions of these material activities are gone. One must perform such action under the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master. But one must understand one's position. Unless one understands the self and its activities, one is to be considered in material bondage. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10-32, it is also said, Yanyera vindaksa vimukta maninastvayastabhava avisuddha buddhaya. A person who doesn't have knowledge of devotional service may think himself liberated, but actually is not. Aruya krichena parampadam tata patyanta dunadrita yusma angraya. Such people may approach the impersonal Brahman influences, but they fall down again into the material enjoyment because they have no knowledge of devotional service. As long as one is interested in karma and jnana, it continues enduring the miseries of material life, birth, old age, disease, and death. Karmists certainly take on one body after another. As far as jnanis are concerned, unless they are promoted to the topmost understanding, they must return to the material world. As explained in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaunam Jnanamante Jnanamamam Prabhachate. The point is to know Krishna, Vasudeva, as everything and surrender unto him. So here you have that verse again. You have first the karmis, and then the next level is the jnanis. The jnanis, they want liberation. They want to get out of this world. But to get out of this world, one must come to the platform of bhakti. Because to go to the spiritual world, one needs to be in that higher spiritual energy. Higher spiritual energy, Ladini Shakti. Only when one is situated in bhakti, one can not go back to the spiritual world. So without bhakti, what can one achieve? The Brahma Jyoti, that's the realization that I'm spirit, not this body. But you don't have realization of the self. Self-realization means understanding who we are. They understand I'm not a body, but they don't know who we are. They are not engaging in devotional service. They want to give up material activities. Giving up material activities means stop all sense gratification and give up all attachment to this world. It's very difficult to do that if one is not engaging in devotional service. And that's explained also in Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna wants to know what's the difference between the devotees and the jnanis. I'm a devotee. Is my position secure? But Krishna says the position of a devotee is superior. Because the impersonal path is very difficult. You have to worship the unmanifested, what is beyond the senses, the all-pervading inconceivable. You have to understand the impersonal conception of the absolute truth. You have to control the senses, being equally disposed to everyone. And but Krishna says is impersonalist. Klesha digadrashta sham avyakta shakta sheta sham avyakti gadirtakam deava bhirapapyate. For those whose mind are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that difficulty, in that discipline, is always difficult for those who are embodied. So it's a very troublesome process. So you have the jnana yogis and the bhakti yogis. So after the Jnana Yogi, the next level is the Bhakti Yoga. How does the Jnana Yogi come there? Balnam Jnanamante Jnanamam Prabhachate. After many, many births, these jnanis realize that, oh, Krishna is the source of Brahman and Paramatma. So we should serve Krishna, and they come to devotional service. They are elevated at that time. But mostly it takes many births to come to that. So, and they surrender to Krishna. They come to the point of pure devotional service. The Bhakti Yogas perform pure devotional service. That's their goal. Anya Bilasa Sunam Jnana Kamatanavam Anukulena Krishna Nusil Nam Bhakti Uttama. One should perform devotional service without any tinge of this desire for sense gratification or without any tinge for desire for liberation. So a devotee does not have the desire of the karmis to enjoy and does not have the desire of the jnanis to get liberation. They only want to serve Krishna. So yes, then this jnanis, they transmigrate from one body to another. Prabhupada quotes 555. We already looked at it. Parabhastava bodha chato yavanajihnas atmatatvam. Yavatkya stavaditamano vaikramatpakam yena sarira bandha. As long as one does not inquire about spiritual values. So this is an important point, that it shows the gradation. First, we have the lowest is the vikarma, the sinful activities will become degraded, and the karmi, it performs pious activities. It's quite elevated. Sometimes we speak about the people outside are karmis. No, most are vikarmis. That the karmi is quite elevated, but then from the karmis, they become jnanis. Some of them, that jnanis is higher. It does not mean that one has to go to these stages. One cannot have vikarma stage and do sinful activities, and he meets a bona fide spiritual master and surrenders them to him. He can immediately go to Bhakti Yoga. But this first gives different levels of devotees. So this is the jnani, and then after that, in the purport, it's said about Bhakti Yoga, but that we will discuss next time, the level of devotion, Bhakti Yoga, and there you have also these different levels up to Srimati Radharani. So I will stop here because I have another class in a few minutes. Are there any questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
My humble obeisance.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yes, yeah, thank you very much, Maharaj, for the class. Nicely explaining the concepts. So, Maharaj, many times the practicing devotees, because so many years they are practicing, they know about the philosophy and the effect of philosophy, what we talked about, karma, vikarma, and the devotional service. But then there is no realization, so then complacency come in, their daily sadhana or daily life. So how to get rid of that complacency?
Yeah, that is. The question is then that do these devotees follow the process? Following the process does not mean only chanting, only reading, only chanting and reading and follow the principles. No, you need association with devotees. You need to have a morning program as established by Srila Prabhupada and an evening program. If you don't have that, one should regularly meet with the devotees to discuss the philosophy and read Prabhupada's books together and discuss. If that is not there, then the mind will remain karmatmaka. Because if you don't realize what's in the scriptures by association of devotees and discussing, that your chanting will remain offensive because you don't have sambandha jnana. Mostly that's the cause, not following the process properly. Such devotees should start following the process properly. If you follow the process properly, you will feel enthusiasm and steadiness. So being complacent is not good. One must do something about it and really follow the process as prescribed. That would be my answer. Purnachandra.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Okay. See you tomorrow for the Bhagavatam class. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.